The Athene Real Talk Podcast explores controversial ideas to stimulate debate and active thinking. These ideas do not always reflect Athene's personal views. Welcome to the Athene Real Talk Podcast.
He has been called the best gamer in the world, hands down.
World-famous gamer and philanthropist Athene.
Gaming for Good, it's called, has raised more than $20 million.
Using his notoriety to raise money for charity.
On activism, science, culture, and self-development.
Proud to have him in the studio today. I would not want to take you on in a video game.
We get that double says, I'm a middle-class citizen in USA. Obamacare is more expensive for me than insurance that my work was. People who do not work and choose to be bums benefit more than people who work. Well, they call that socialism, by the way. Just so you know, they call that socialism, and it's been working really nice for the rest of the world. But I'm not done here. When people do not work, that's not because they're bums. Sometimes people don't find a job because there is no jobs. It's important to know that. Not everybody just chooses to live on the street in a fucking box. That's not really a choice. It's important to know that. My wife's friends don't have jobs and have more food in their fridge than I do because government handouts and the fact they pay half the price I do for insurance. That is not completely true. As far as I know, the handouts in the US are not that much compared to the handouts here, and the system works pretty well here in Europe. But I don't know if you're real, but I think you're pretty serious. I want to tell you something that doubled. We are in this together. Life is random. Where you come from and where you are, for a big part, is random. And I know the American dream says that everybody can become the next big thing, and you have that shit on TV, and you have that shit in Hollywood movies. But in reality, if you live as a bum because your parents are a bum, the chances you will stay a bum is pretty fucking damn high. And by being able to reach out to the poorer places and the poorer layers of society, you can actually measure the level of society and system you are in. And if you let them just die, that doesn't say a lot about those bums. That rather says a lot about the system itself. And you have to be really aware about that, because I know that everything and everyone around you and the media and the fucking Republicans and all that shit says otherwise. But honestly, kids don't choose where they get born. Kids don't choose how they get raised. Kids don't choose how they grow up. And if they live and they get a better situation to start off, they will be better off. It's just a fact. And if you realize that, then we can do with the people that have more, we can do with a little bit less. If that means other people have a better prosperity, and everybody will benefit from that. Not just them, but also you indirectly. That's what you call being humane. It's caring about each other. It's important to know that we have enough. We have more than enough. And there's people that have a lot less than us. And we live in a society and we live on an economy that has grown and has put us in the position we are now because of a lot of exploitation. Exploitation that still happens the day of today. And it's important to be able to realize that if we're not entitled to what we have and we don't take everything for granted, we can be more happy with less and we can help others a lot more. And that will give you more purpose. That will give you more happiness, more fulfillment. Will make you more structured, more consistent. It's a more stable system to live in. Your awareness is very important, and I know a lot of people think like that. We don't live in a world, it's them and it's us. No, we live in a world where we're all in this together. And the sooner we start realizing that, the sooner we can solve problems and tackle them together and move forward as a race. Because that's the only way we will survive together. We're not going to survive by nuking Iran. We're not going to survive by nuking any other country. We're going to survive by learning how to live together and by how to care together. And if someone needs help, you help them. And not think patriotic or whatever. Think as humans. It's important insights. Viscalar Clutch says, Athene, you are really going to tell me your agreement that I should be paying 40% more taxes than someone else because they are lower class? Damn straight I'm going to tell you that. Even if you're very rich, 40% ain't enough. 75%. Maybe even 90% if you're really super rich. If you think that a world and a society is normal that one guy can own more than an entire country, if you think that is right and that is morally correct, there is an issue with the system you're living in. And if you can make people believe you that shit, you really gotta reevaluate how you look at the world. Because in my eyes, fucking 10 million people that live in poverty and it'll all have collectively less than one guy that just won the lottery or whatever you want to call it, I don't think that is fair. Because that's what it is. You are who you are in the situation you are, not because you are great at what you do or because you worked for it. You are in the situation you are because you were born where you are, you had the RNG that influenced you to be who you are, and now you are where you are. Most of it is RNG. If you would be living and born in Syria, you're probably fighting for ISIS right now. You're going to say no to that? It's just how it is. And if you start realizing that, instead of being emotionally attached to like, this is my money, I worked hard for that shit, American dream, or whatever the fuck, you start seeing the world for what it is. The world is just RNG, kids are kids, everybody's equal. Everybody's fucking equal. You can't go like, I live here, I live here. How does that even work? How does that even make fucking sense if you think about it? Kids don't choose where they get born, how they get educated, how they grow up. They don't choose for that shit. And that's why, as a humane civilization, we help those in need. That's what being humane means. And honestly, if it wasn't for that, you'd be left in a little bum when your mother or your father wouldn't like you. If your mother and your father say like, oh, we don't want to have kids, let's put that kid in a freaking box or outside or whatever, you'd be now homeless. Because they took care of you, they cared about you. They didn't invest in you and then when you're 18, go, here are all the bills. Because we grew you. You're going to say like, no, but I'm their kid. It's their responsibility to take care of me. Well, it's your responsibility to take care of those poor people as well. Because you're their only hope. And so because we don't have that social platform and that moral framework, that it's not the right thing to do. And by having that mindset, we move all forward. Because we have enough. You can live with less. Easily. You can even be more happy with less. And that applies to a lot of people. We don't have to be entitled and take everything for granted. We can do with less. And those people can do a lot better with a little bit more. Not even so much more, a little bit more. If you know that $10 can drastically change the life of a child in a third world country, you can say, that's maybe right, but I worked for those $10. They are mine. I worked hard for the $10. I ain't gonna help those kids. They can suck my D. Let's say you say that, then I would say that's evil to say that shit. Not true. I grew up in a small family in SC on a farm and we did not have much money. I got a job at Chick-fil-A when I was 17 and saved up for college. I got 4 in college and I'm now a therapist making $140K a year. Dropouts should not get my dollars. I think you're trolling, by the way. But if you're not trolling, just by still being born and being able to work for a Chick-fil-A or whatever you want to call it, you still won the lottery because you didn't get born in Africa where you didn't even have food or didn't even have the ability to work for Chick-fil-A. And what if the guy at Chick-fil-A didn't really like your face and said, sorry, you ain't gonna work here? What you gonna do then? You gotta think about it. It's not like you choose everything. You don't have everything under control what happens to you. I wish that was the case, but sorry, that's not the case. That's not how the world works. So if you're a therapist, you know that most of the time when people are in a situation where they are drug addicts, it's because of the situation they come from. Whether it's poverty or bad education or whatever, they don't have it always under control. And I'm not saying you have to give your money to drug addicts, but you need to have a system that treats those people and have a social framework or web that makes sure that people that are sick or people that fall next to the system still can be caught up. And by doing so, you just decriminalize and create a situation where there's a lot less social inequality, but also a lot less problems. As a therapist, you should know that when people come with their problems, there's always a story behind it, and it goes most of the time really back to when they were young. Having a society or a government that takes care of, for example, drugs addict in a very smart and professional way, or against street children or whatever, will really highly improve society in the long run. So it's not about like, hey, I don't want to give my money. It's about you're in this together. Society is a collective. It's not everybody single. It's like we're a collective. We're in this together. If I was in your situation, I would still say your money is better spent saving starving children in Africa. But still, that doesn't mean like the government should not have a system in place that provides healthcare and provides care for those people that didn't really work out that well. It's not like they're born lazy or they're born to fail at life. That's not how it is. Visser says, Athene, how would you feel if someone donated you $100 and the government took away 90 of those dollars? how would you feel if you were donated $100,000 and they took 90%? You would be happy? Question mark. Depends. If I live in a society where my children and other people's children can go to college without having to be in debt until their 30s or 40 years, if I live in a country where people don't have to worry about dying when they have cancer, if I live in a system where the government is very responsible and treats people in a great way, then I wouldn't mind too much. Although, when it comes down to me, to pay less taxes, but that's because I can spend the money much better than the government, because I would rather donate it to charity. I would rather donate it to save the children, because those people need it even more than homeless people here, for example. I think homeless people still live a life of a king. But if I was just a normal guy doing my job, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, we have a lot of benefits, and those benefits have to get paid by someone. And you're talking about 90%. In Belgium, it's 50%. Drax V says, what's the difference between backwards rationalization and rationalization? Rationalization is 2 plus 2 is 4. That's rationalization. Backwards rationalization is you experience something and then you try to figure out where that emotion comes from. Because you first feel stuff and then you give it a reason. And that's what backwards rationalization is. Alex told me something earlier. And he said what really got him to contact us was my confrontational speech. And I was thinking if I should do it again with you guys. I don't really like so much to be very confrontational, because most of the time it has an opposite effect and people get really angry. But maybe I should be a little bit confrontational. Okay, I'm just gonna be confrontational. Fuck this shit. You guys say just do it so I can blame you guys afterwards. I will first say something where everybody can agree on, most of people can agree on, and is that we live in a shithole. The world is a shithole. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the world that is really bad, and there's a lot of misery going on, and there's a lot of problems in the world. But honestly, this entire shithole is nothing compared to the shithole you are. And you might wonder, like, I'm not ISIS and killing people. I'm not doing all this bad stuff in the world. Why are you saying that I'm a bigger shithole than all the shithole in the world? The thing is, because you are a bigger part of the problem than the problem itself. And the reason why that is not because you contribute in a way that is completely destructive to the world, but it's because you are the only person on the planet that has a direct impact on your own actions. And all the rest is merely a circle of concern. It's stuff that you can think about and you can cry about, but at the end of the day, the only real change that you can have is based on who you are and your direct environment and how that ripples towards the world. So if you're looking at the world and you go like, man, shit, this entire world is a shithole, then basically what you're saying is that you're the biggest part of it. And let me tell you why. I'm going to compare it with mathematics. If you have an equation with 1,000 constants and one variable, and you are the variable, then you are the one that has the biggest impact in that equation relative to you being the variable of yourself. And that applies to every single person. You can look at all the problems in the world, but you are literally the only variable in the equation. And the moment you realize that, it's not about looking at all the constants and go like, whoa, all those constants look so bad. It's about how you as a variable will change the equation by changing yourself and contributing to the world. And it's a very important insight, because if you don't understand that, you're literally part of those other constants. You're part of the problem. And the awareness to make a difference and to take things in actions is very hard, because it goes so much against everything you do day in, day out. Your entire life is a constant. You do shit because other people tell you to do it. You do shit because you try to fit in. You do shit because you expect validation of other people. But the problem is that in this world where all the shit goes down, and the world we live in, you are literally the only part of the equation that has the ability to change, because everything else are constants. You can change yourself, and by changing yourself, you change the equation. And you change the result. And it doesn't matter how small the result is, you can change it in a good way or in a bad way. And the problem is that so many people live their lives in such an impulsive, constant way that they're not aware about their impact. And most people don't even rationalize. You go through life with all those very narrow-minded ideas and concepts that you've learned and have been indoctrinated through social conditioning, school, whatever the fuck. You think you are the most important thing where you are. Most of you, not all of you. Some people have the other way around and think they're completely useless and feel very emo. But the reality is that you are a person with full potential that can achieve great things the moment you get shit in gear and you start becoming part of the solution rather than part of the problem. And these insights can be very confrontational because they go directly against everything you do day in, day out. Most people watch streams, do entertaining stuff, let things happen, and don't take their shit into action. Almost all of you. And the reason why I'm doing those real talks is because I try to inspire people to be better people. And I'm doing it in a very unconfrontational way. But if you look at the reality and you look at how much stuff every single one of you guys can potentially do to make a difference, the world would be already a better place if only the people watching right now, which is not that many, would start living a more proactive life from today. But the reality is that most people that are watching this live stream are so conditioned and are so impulsive that the moment they cut the stream and are back into their environment, they will be back conditioned to live their life in an impulsive and primitive way. And that's why I have to keep repeating the same shit over and over again every single day, so it goes through you tick by tick by tick, so at one point hopefully it actually makes you realize what kind of difference you can make and get yourself into gear. And that is pretty confrontational, because everything else is a fucking excuse. It's literally an excuse to justify, to backwards rationalize why you're a lazy fuck. Sounds very bad, but for most of you guys, this is exactly how it is. Threefold says, okay, so now I have realized I'm a lazy fuck. What do I do about it? You stop being fucking lazy. You do stuff. You guys know, like, when people subscribe and says just do it? If you are fat and you have to work out and eat healthy, you just fucking do it. Stop making excuses. Just fucking do it. It's gonna make you happier. You know why I don't sell you that? What I'm saying right now? Because it doesn't work most of the time. Confronting people and say, like, get out of your fucking lazy ass and do it. It's like, whoa, yeah, really cool. It's only gonna make you feel worse because you ain't gonna do it. And as a result, you will stop watching the stream because you don't want to all the time be confronted, you being a lazy fuck. So on the other hand, when I talk about things and I walk a very, very thin line to be able to give you guys the insights, but at the same time not confront you guys too much. Because if I was really confrontational all the time, you guys would say, fuck this guy. I ain't going to watch this stream to hear how fucking lazy fuck I am. You don't want to hear this shit. It's cool to hear it maybe once. But if you guys hear this shit every time, I'm telling you, you just don't watch me anymore.
Subscribe to youtube.com/AtheneWins. Watch the live stream at twitch.tv/AtheneLive and follow the real Athene on Snapchat.